What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another Ember build here on the channel for you guys. This one is called the Hammer Kitten. As you guys can see, it's pretty obvious to tell why I called it that. Ember's a cat, of course, and she's wielding a two-handed weapon. This one was absolutely fantastic. She deals an absolute a lot of damage, mainly because the two-handed weapon skill line is pretty good all the way around, but not to mention her actual Khajiit passives really do help in the DPS department for Ember, making her arguably one of the best DPS companions out there for that very reason. With that being said, guys, I'm super excited to jump into this one. If you are too, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also, while you're there, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, enough yapping from me, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Alright guys, so we're going to be starting off with the Khajiit skills passive, which is called Cunning, because it directly affects the damage output of your companion for this one. Cunning reads as increases critical chance by 3% and damage done by 3%. As you guys can see, this passive, or this companion in general, is directly tailor-made for DPS because of this passive. Absolutely fantastic one, guys, and it really does help boost the overall damage output of your companion. In the number 1 slot is a little bit of survivability with Hurricane Visage. This reads as Ember manifests themselves as pure lightning, zapping nearby enemies with electricity, dealing 5,310 shock damage over 8 seconds. While in this form, their damage taken is reduced by 20%. Now, the main reason this is slotted is for the damage reduction of 20%, which is absolutely imperative for the survival of your companion. However, this does deal a decent amount of damage over time, of 5,310 shock damage over the period of 8 seconds. Great skill to have slotted for that reason, survivability and a little bit of damage output as well. Great skill to have slotted all the way around. In the number 2 slot, we have Staggering Swing. Staggering Swing reads as Ember slams an enemy with an upward swing and sends them flying, dealing 10,626 physical damage, stunning them for 2.5 seconds and knocking them back 4 meters. This skill is fantastic for 2 reasons. On the first hand, it deals a pretty moderate amount of damage at 10,626 physical damage, but also has a little bit of usability or practicality in the sense of the knockback that it does for 4 meters and stuns them for 2.5 seconds. This skill is absolutely fantastic for that reason. The only major downfall, or it's not really even a major downfall, but the only downfall that I can think of is the fact that the cooldown is at 16 seconds, but the amount of usability that this skill has, on top of having a moderate amount of damage being dealt by this skill, really makes up for the higher cooldown, in my opinion. I think this is a great skill to have slotted, period. In the number 3 slot, we have Crystal Blast. Crystal Blast reads as Ember conjures dark crystals to bombard an enemy, dealing 10,626 magic damage. The best part of this skill is not just because it deals a moderate amount of damage of 10,626, but the cooldown itself has 8 seconds of cooldown speed, meaning that this skill will be used quite often, really thoroughly increasing the overall damage output just because of this specific skill being slotted. Absolutely a must, in my opinion. In the number 4 slot, we have Sunder. Sunder slices, Ember slices all enemies in front of them with a mighty swing, dealing 5,313 physical damage and an additional 5,312 physical damage over 8 seconds. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of these types of skills because it does effectively 2 types of damage, right? An initial burst damage, if you will, of 5,313 physical damage up front, and also on top of that, it deals an additional 5,312 physical damage over a period of 8 seconds, making it not just a I guess we could call it a burst damage, but also a damage over time, making it an absolute fantastic skill to have slotted for any two-handed weapon build out there. In the number 5 slot is a very important skill for DPS dealing builds for Ember, and that is Second Wind. Second Wind reads as Ember uses their backup resources, reducing the cooldown of all their other abilities by 5 seconds. This does have a 16-second cooldown. However, the fact of the matter is, this skill, even though it won't be used super often, maybe every other rotation, but the fact of the matter is this reduces the overall cooldown of all of your abilities, other than this one of course, by 5 full seconds, allowing you to really deal that much more damage because your skills will be up all the time. Absolutely fantastic skill. This, however, I will consider a flex, however, because if you guys need a little bit of survivability, then I do recommend having Quick Fix instead of Second Wind because of its low cooldown rate and its high health burst heal that it gives you. So if you need a little bit of survivability, replace Second Wind over for Quick Fix. However, if you want more damage, keep Second Wind slotted, which is what we're going to do for this specific video. In terms of the ultimate, we have Raging Storm. Raging Storm reads as Ember creates a thunderstorm that follows the target, striking all enemies within for 1,992 shock damage every 1 second for 8 seconds. The final strike deals 300% additional damage to enemies under 25% health. So not only is this a damage over time of 1,992 damage, shock damage specifically, every 1 second for 8 seconds, meaning 8 ticks of 1,992 shock damage, but the final tick will always be 300% its initial number to enemies who are under 25% health, effectively making this also not just a damage over time, but also an execute. This skill is, I've said it before and I'm going to continue saying it, is absolutely fantastic for trash mobs, because it doesn't deal an initial a large amount of damage to like world bosses or anything with high health, but what it does is that it's able to tick down the overall health to low health enemies, which typically gather in the masses, and this has a very big AoE, which essentially ends up being crucial for AoE type damage in trash mob settings. Not only that, but if the enemy wasn't already dead by the time it gets to its 8th tick, that 8th tick is going to deal an additional 300 damage if the enemy is at 25% health or less. Again, effectively acting as an execute. Fantastic skill for trash mobs, guys. I really thoroughly recommend this one for trash mobs. With that being said, let's go and check out her gear. Alright guys, so in terms of gear, I like to set up my companions in the same fashion that I set up my own personal companions in terms of gear. So with that being said, it's basically 2 5-piece sets and a 2-piece monster set. Monster sets aren't necessarily a thing for companions, so we'll just call it a 2-piece. So with that being said, the first 2-piece set is going to be the head and shoulders, which are both medium aggressive. Medium in particular because if you look at the armor skill line, passive for it, if you can read right here, it says increases damage done by 1% for each piece of medium armor equipped. The current balance or bonus, of course, spoiler alert, is 7%. But this also decreases the cooldown of roll dodge by 5% for each piece of medium armor equipped. With this build, it's 35%, and the current cooldown is at 5.2%. This skill, or this passive, is absolutely imperative for the overall damage output of your companion, because again, if you have all medium pieces slotted, you have an additional 7% on its own just by having medium armor equipped. But not just that, for every piece of medium aggressive that you have on, which is what these two are, you also increase an additional 1.7% of damage for each piece that you have equipped, assuming you have purple gear equipped, of course. Because of that, we also have our first 5-piece set as aggressive as well, which again increases the overall damage output by 1.7% for each piece equipped, which we have 7, so 1.7 times 7 is your number, plus an additional 7% for your medium armor passive. Absolutely a must for any damage dealing setup because of the amount of damage that it's able to dish out. For your final 5-piece set, we do have Shattering, which increases armor penetration by 1300 all the way around for all of your jewelry. However, your weapon is considered a 2-piece set, so because of that, instead of being 1300 armor penetration, it deals 2600 armor penetration. This, alongside with the aggressive trait, really does make for a good combination in my opinion. I really thoroughly enjoyed this because of the damage output potential that it has. So enough of the armor, let's go ahead and go over to the house and check out her fashion. Alright guys, in terms of fashion, she is wearing a Crown Shop item that is called the Moonlit Cove Sojourner's Wraps. Apologies, I am not a very good reader when it comes to these kinds of things. So that's that. However, in terms of the dyes, we have Neck Jelly Blue, Stendar White, and of course Blood Gold, making this look absolutely fantastic. For the weapon itself, we have New Moon Priest Maul, Stendar White, Blood Gold, and Neck Blue, Jelly Blue. I think this looks absolutely fantastic together. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of this overall look or fashion that she has. With that being said, let's go ahead and see if we can solo a world boss with no interruptions. That's going to be hard to do, of course, because players can come and go from any location. So let's go see if we can solo a world boss. And there you guys have it. The Hammer Kitten build has officially been completed here on the channel. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys thought of this specific build. As you guys saw, she had no issues standing up to a world boss whatsoever. Granted, of course, I was taunting everything, but that's mainly so that you guys can see the DPS side of this build, which is what this build fundamentally is, of course. Absolutely enjoyed this one, guys. If you did too, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel while you're there, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, catch you guys on the next one. Deuces.